Today we're going to talk about Ricky Steamboat, specifically when he was the NWA World Champion. Back in 1989, he defeated Ric Flair and lost it to Ric Flair in a short period of time, but it's well known that they had three classic brawls that were probably 5-star matches, but they're known as classics. But I want to dive deep into that time period when Ricky Steamboat was the NWA Champion, because I think there's a lot of interesting stuff there. Particularly, my question is, what did he do the day after? What was the next thing he did after winning what was then, this second biggest championship in the entire business? Badass looking belt too, have to admit. That's a classic photo. So anyway, I'm not affiliated with WrestlingData.com, but it is an excellent website because it's just pure data. So what I'm going to do is come down here and I'm going to search for wrestler. Top of the line, name, Ricky Steamboat, and not his son. So you can see a lot of cool stuff about Ricky, but what I'm looking for is matches. Click on that. He's 66 now. This is August 21st, 2019. I'm researching 1989. So we'll put it, there it is on 1989. Put it on there. So, okay, before I do that, so he had left the WWE in March of 1988. And he took, 10 months off. So, we're going to come in on February 1989. See what these 8 matches were. Okay, yeah, this is kind of crazy. Okay, so 2/11/89, February 11th, he comes in and he does his debut. Of course, he does his return to the area at Charlotte Coliseum, Charlotte, North Carolina. Now, within 9 days? No. Yeah, 9 days. He was the champ 9 days after coming back to the area. I thought that was crazy when I saw it. The funny thing is, so he teamed up, because back then in 1989 they had this thing. I remember in the show they would show you the weekly or the current top 10 wrestlers, and that was important in the storyline on the overarching show, that you got to climb your way to the top to get a shot at the champ. So that's how they used to do it back then, and it was more of a sporty, sports sort of theme, kind of close to boxing, how the boxing supposedly does it in real life. But in this case, what they did, since they wanted him to have the belt in 9 days, they put him in a tag match and had him pin Ric Flair. I remember this. And then their logic was, hey, if he can pin the champ in a non-title match, then that earns you a title shot. That's how that was the logic back then, and it makes sense. So we got Clash of the Champions. Ricky Steamboat defeated Bob Bradley. That's pretty funny considering the pay-per-view coming up, because Clash of the Champions, as you know, was a free TV show, but it was where it was similar to a pay-per-view, but it was free. So it was at the Convocation Center, Cleveland. And then on the 18th, 3 days later, so he comes in, he does one show, 3 days off, 4 days off. 15th, three days off. TV taping, had him beat a jobber, and then he's a champ. Boom, champ. There it is. 20th. Hey guys, I'm here. And that match was only 23 minutes. Baltimore Arena in Baltimore. Rick Steamboat and Eddie, so they repeated that, but now Steamboat's the champ 3 days later. They did 3 shows in one day at Baltimore. Okay, look at this. His first defense of the NWA title was Kendall Windham. Barry Windham's brother. Bray Wyatt's uncle. That's crazy. That is a little known fact that is fun. Okay, Ricky Steamboat defeated Ric Flair. Alright. And then 5 days later, he's in All Japan. He's in Japan for like a week. But I wanted to do something interesting. Okay, so Ric Flair, let's talk about this particular, because we know that early 80s, Ric Flair and Ricky Steamboat had, a few back then, but a program or whatever you call it. Let's just take a look at this one alone and take it from a sporting perspective, as if it was sport. We're going to do a series, okay? So in other words, right now, as of the 23rd, Baltimore Arena, Ricky Steamboat is 2-0 against Ric Flair. Also, how much would you bet that this was also a really awesome classic 5-star match? But there's no footage. Isn't that a terrible shame? So the 2 pay-per-views and the 1 Clash of Champions is a famous series, classic series, well-known series. But there's 10, 12, 20, 14 more matches as well. So let's count that as we look at this time period. So we got 2-0. Right now he's 2-0. Ric Flair's 0. Ricky Steamboat 2. Yeah, this is interesting. Okay, so February, I think we're pretty done. March. So he's in All Japan. He's against he's working Tiger Mask. Johnny Smith is his Nakano. Look at that. That's crazy. I mean, and he's there he even defended the belt one time. He's there as the World Heavyweight Champion. I bet he made some pretty darn good money going out there. Yep. With All Japan. So on the 8th, he's done. Comes back to Greensboro Coliseum, and he's going to face Ric Flair. Now, and I'm sure it was a classic. 25 minutes. That's plenty of time to have a great match. We know they went longer, but I'm seeing, what was the Chi-Town? It was 23. I'm seeing 25, 34, 31, 30. So these had to be great matches, but no footage. It's crazy. But okay, so the other page, February, he was 2-0, right? So here he's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 0. So I know I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's see. Let's back up. Back from Japan. We're at Greensboro. Defeat Ric Flair. Omni, Ric Flair. What is this? Didn't know. Also, that might have been Ric Flair. Who knows? Snake Brown was at TV taping. They're just showcasing Ricky, the champ. No, that was Ronnie Garvin. I was about to say I remember a clip where the new champ was showing the belt, showing the nameplate. That's the first time I had seen the nameplate, seen it up close enough to know about the nameplate. Yeah, but that wasn't Ricky Steamboat. That was Garvin. Anyway, Landover, Maryland, Philadelphia Convention Hall and Civic Center, Cumberland County in Fayetteville, Columbia. These guys are having classic matches everywhere. Look, 14th, 18th, 18th, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 26, 27. Ric Flair everywhere. Norfolk, Columbus, Chattanooga, Gainesville, Baltimore. Just classic after classic with no footage. So what we're up to, 15-0. Let's go on to the next month. This is fun. See, it's like that's what I love about this site. You can see how the story played out. You can imagine what it was like going in and out of these arenas for these guys. Alright, so back to our count. We're starting off 4-2, Louisiana Superdome. 2 out of 3. That was the Clash. Okay, that was the third. That was the second, supposedly second of the 3 classic. Clash of the Champions. I remember watching that thing. Yep, 55 minutes. Probably their longest one. It was great. It was awesome. Yep, Louisiana. But anyway, that puts Ricky 16-0, right? Do we want to count the falls? Sure. That makes Ricky 17-1 now. 17-1. Flair finally got a pinfall. 17-1 in our series. Alright, before I go on, let's count them all. 17-1, 18-1, 19-1, 20-1, 21-1. And that's it for this one. 21-1 in our series. If wins and losses are important, like taking from a sporting perspective, they are, and this is simulated sports, so wins should be important. We're 21-1 in this series. So the next day, 2 days later, after the Clash of Champions, we have a TV taping. So Jack Victory, who was a kind of like a Barry Horowitz type of person for NWA at the time, Mike Rotunda, and these were, you're going to defend okay. Mike Rotunda I get, but defending the NWA title against Jack Victory, okay. He was, like I said, Barry Horowitz. He wasn't a no-name. He was just, you just see him lose all the time. So, defeated Mike Rotunda. I bet that was a good match. I'm sure I could see it. I haven't seen it. Well, I mean, I haven't gone back and seen it recently. So he gets a couple days off, and then on the 8th of April, he goes to the Veterans Memorial in New Haven. Wow, up to Connecticut. Interesting. That is very interesting. And he had a classic with Ric Flair. 4-9. Okay, so they teamed Ricky and Lex up. And remember, Ric Flair, the Four Horsemen were not a thing at this time. It was during a hiatus. And Michael Hayes had been feuding with Lex Luger, so they just teamed them up. This is interesting. Ricky Steamboat versus Ron Simmons. Center Stage Theater. And then they did that tag team thing again. This time the babyfaces won. And they did it again. UIC Pavilion. I bet that drew a lot of people. Memphis goes down to Memphis to have a classic. See, this is crazy. Kiel Auditorium, St. Louis, Ohio. Alright, here's another one with the tag team. And then another classic in Huntington. Tag team thing again. And this is interesting. Iron Sheik, former WWF champion, 5 years prior, had been WWF Champion, and now he's in the WCW. Did not have an impressive run that I recall, but he got a shot at the champ and was defeated in Philadelphia Convention Hall. Okay, that's April. Fun stuff. Where are we? 21-1. I think this is where he loses it. Yep, there it is. Wrestle War, the third, quote unquote, third of 3 classics. But we've uncovered, got to subtract 2 for the 2 out of 3 falls match. We've uncovered 19 matches total, and this would be 20. So they had 20 matches during this run. And if you include the 2 out of 3 falls match, Steamboat had 21 pinfalls, and Ric Flair had 2. So in sports, that would mean Steamboat won the series. But because we have to get to an awesome and classic feud with Funk, so I'm not complaining at all, but it's just interesting that in wrestling logic, Flair won the last one, so that means he keeps the belt. It's funny. Just interesting little quirky things like that. Nashville on the 7th of May. There we go. So fun stuff. Interesting stories are lurking deep inside this data, and it's just fun to unlock it. That's kind of what I'm doing. Thank you for joining me.